When I was 17, my friends Lucas, David, and I would always stay out too late doing dumb things. There's something about walking around at 1 a.m. that makes everything feel surreal, like the world's asleep and you're the only ones left. That's probably why Lucas had the bright idea to play Ding Dong Ditch that night. We'd done it before, but this time, Lucas had a target in mind. He pointed to a house that sat at the end of Red Hollow Street, a house with a basement window facing the front yard. "This one," Lucas grinned. "They got one of those ground-level windows. Let's knock on that instead of the door." "Why?" I asked, already feeling that twist in my gut. "'Cause it's funnier," he said, already jogging toward it. David laughed and followed him. I didn't want to be the only one left behind, so I went too. We crouched low next to the small basement window. The light inside was on, not a bright light, more like the glow of a lamp. I could see part of the basement wall and a mattress on the floor. "Knock on it, dude," Lucas whispered, nudging me. I knocked. Once, twice, 3 times. At first, nothing, just the faint hum of the streetlights. Lucas knocked next, louder this time. That's when I saw it. A shadow moved across the wall inside the basement. I froze. "Somebody's in there," I whispered. "Good," Lucas grinned. "That's the point." "Dude, stop," I said, standing up. "Let's go." Lucas knocked again. This time it was hard. 3 solid thumps against the glass. Come out, wherever you are," he muttered, like it was a joke. That's when the face appeared. No warning, no sound. 1 second it wasn't there, and the next it was. Pressed against the glass, eyes wide, face pale, mouth slightly open like it was waiting for something. It wasn't angry or shocked. It wasn't even curious. It was like it had been expecting us. David bolted. No hesitation. He was gone. I stumbled back, heart racing, eyes locked on that face. Lucas didn't move at first. He just crouched there, eyes wide, staring back. Then the person pressed their hand flat against the glass, right where Lucas was crouched. "Bro, go," I hissed, yanking Lucas by his hoodie. We ran. I didn't look back, but I knew Lucas was right behind me. None of us stopped until we reached the end of the street. We were all out of breath, hands on our knees, laughing the way people laugh when they're trying to convince themselves everything is fine. "You saw that, right?" David asked, gasping for air. Lucas nodded, but he didn't say a word. He just kept looking back over his shoulder, like he was waiting for something to follow us. We decided to head home after that, but none of us said it out loud. It was one of those moments where everyone just knew. Lucas walked ahead of us. He wasn't joking around anymore. David was quieter too, not cracking his usual dumb jokes. I was stuck replaying that face in my head, the way it had popped into view without a single sound, the way it looked right at us, like it had been waiting for us. Halfway down the street, David stopped walking. "You hear that?" he asked, turning around. I listened, just the faint hum of streetlights, a distant car, maybe a dog barking. "You're paranoid," I said. But Lucas had stopped too. He wasn't looking at us, he was looking down the street, back the way we'd come. "Someone's walking," he muttered. I looked. The street was empty at first, but then I saw it. A figure, walking slowly, moving in that steady, mechanical way. No flashlight, no phone light, just walking toward us. "Is that him?" David asked, voice cracking. "Let's go," Lucas muttered. We didn't run, not at first. We walked fast, glancing over our shoulders every few seconds. The figure stayed the same distance from us, walking at the same calm, steady pace. No rush, no chase, just following. "Bro, tell me that's not him," David said, glancing back again. "Shut up, man," Lucas hissed, his breathing fast and shallow. We took a turn down Brookfield Avenue, thinking we'd lose him. Halfway down, Lucas stopped cold. No way," he muttered, pointing ahead. There, on the opposite end of the street, was the same figure. He was walking toward us. "It's not possible," David muttered, stepping back. He wasn't running, he wasn't in a rush, just that slow, steady walk, like he knew we had nowhere to go. We ran. This time, we didn't stop until we made it to Lucas's house. We shut every door, locked every window, and sat in the living room, catching our breath. "You think he saw us come in?" David asked, panting. "No," Lucas said. "No way." But none of us believed that. We tried to laugh it off. David said it was probably some old guy who lived there and we were being paranoid babies. We nodded, pretended to agree. Nobody really believed it. We were in Lucas's basement, eating chips and watching TV when we heard it. Tapping sounds. It was faint, but clear. 3 taps, coming from behind us. We froze. All 3 of us glanced at the basement window. It was one of those small rectangular windows near the ceiling, the kind that faces out to ground level. I stared at it, heart pounding, but I didn't see anything, just darkness. "It's probably the wind," David muttered, too loud, like he was trying to convince himself. Then the tapping sounds occurred again. Louder this time, not slow, deliberate. "Shut up," Lucas hissed, holding up his hand. He was staring at the window now. I saw it first, the top edge of a face, just eyes and the bridge of a nose right at the bottom of the window, looking in. "Turn off the light," I whispered, my voice barely working. Lucas clicked off the light. We crouched down, silent, hearts pounding. I thought maybe it was over, maybe if we stayed quiet he'd go away. Then, from the other side of the basement, we heard it again. The tapping sound. Not from the window, from the basement door. "Somebody's inside," David whispered, eyes wide. It's not him," Lucas stammered. "It can't be him." "Who else would it be?" David said, barely able to get the words out. We stayed there, dead silent, for at least 10 minutes. No more tapping, no more sound. Eventually, Lucas got up. "Stay here," he whispered. He moved toward the door, slow and careful. I stayed frozen in place, watching every move he made. He reached the door and put his ear to it, listening. After a few seconds, he relaxed. "Nothing," he said, turning to look at us. "I told you, it's—" His eyes went wide. He stumbled back, tripping over his own feet. "What?" David hissed, eyes darting around. I didn't see it at first. I was looking at Lucas, but then I saw it. The door handle, it was turning slowly. We ran. I don't remember how I got upstairs, but I did. I didn't stop until I was outside, running full speed down the street. I didn't look back. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. No message, just a photo. It was the basement window at Lucas's house, taken from the outside. And in the reflection of the glass, you could see 3 faces, ours, and behind us, one more. It started with a dare, as most dumb decisions do. I was 16, and my friends Ethan, Malik, and I would play Ding Dong Ditch in the neighborhood. We'd done it before, but this time, Ethan pointed at the house at the end of Ashwood Drive. Everyone knew about this house. It wasn't haunted or abandoned, but it was off. The lawn was always dry, the blinds were always closed, and the front door had deep scratches on it, like someone had been clawing to get in or out. "Hit that one," Ethan grinned. "Double tap it. I bet nobody even lives there." Malik shook his head. "Nah, that house is weird, bro." "Exactly," Ethan said, his grin getting wider. "That's why it's perfect." I wasn't about to let Ethan call me a coward, so I walked up. As I got closer, I saw something that made me hesitate. The window blinds weren't fully closed. Just a little gap at the bottom. I swear, for a second, I thought I saw something shift behind it. But it was too late to back out. I hit the doorbell twice, tapped the door with my knuckle, and bolted. My heart was pounding in my chest. We ducked behind a car parked across the street and watched. Nothing happened at first. No porch light, no door creaking, just silence. "Waste of time," Malik muttered. But then the porch light flicked on. We all tensed up, eyes locked on the door. It didn't open right away, but I noticed something else. The blinds? They were pulled all the way down now. I know they'd been open a crack before. "Somebody's watching," I whispered, and I suddenly felt exposed, like I was out in the open even though I was hiding. After the porch light stayed on for a few minutes, Ethan had another brilliant idea. "Double tap it again," he said, grinning. "Nope," I said. "I'm done." Ethan snickered. "All right, fine. I'll do it myself." He crouched low and ran toward the house, moving like he was in a spy movie. I should have stopped him, but I was too busy watching the window, waiting for that movement again. Ethan reached the door and hit the bell 3 times for good measure. Then he knocked loud. This time, it opened. Not all the way, just a few inches. Ethan froze. I could see it in his posture. He didn't know what to do. He slowly backed up, his eyes locked on the crack in the door. "Come back, man," I hissed. He took 1 step back, then another, but the door creaked open wider. I couldn't see anyone behind it. No shadow, no movement, just that open space. Ethan was breathing heavy as he jogged back to us. "That wasn't me," he said, out of breath. "I didn't touch it, I swear." We crouched behind the car again, our eyes locked on the door. It stayed open. No one stepped out. "Bro, let's go," Malik whispered. And that's when it happened. A man stepped into view. He didn't step out of the house. He just leaned forward slowly, like he'd been standing behind the door the whole time, listening. He was wearing a plain white t-shirt, but I'll never forget his face. He had that kind of dead, blank stare that people have when they're half asleep, or not all there. He didn't move, he didn't step outside, he just stood there, staring in our direction. "Does he see us?" Malik asked, voice barely a whisper. "Of course he does," Ethan muttered. "He knows we're here." The man raised his hand, not to wave, but to point, directly at us. "Run," I said, and this time nobody argued. We took off down the street, not stopping until we were halfway to Ethan's house. We didn't see him following us. No sounds of footsteps, no sounds of a door closing. Just the quiet buzz of the streetlights. "That guy was crazy," Malik said, hands on his knees, catching his breath. We made it back to Ethan's house and locked the door behind us. We laughed it off, but we all knew we were lying. Something about that guy wasn't right. An hour later, we were all scrolling on our phones, when Ethan sat up straight. "Guys, look," he said, showing us his screen. It was a text, no name, just a number. The message said, "Nice run. See you soon." I felt my stomach drop. Malik laughed nervously. "It's a prank, bro. You probably gave someone your number." But then my phone buzzed. Same message. No name, just, "Nice run. See you soon."